Hey, welcome. I'm Spencer with Computer Advantage, and today we have the opportunity to get a sneak peek and unbox the brand new MacBook Pro 14-inch.
So let's dive in. I'm really excited about this 14-inch size. I think it's going to be a perfect size to complement the 13-inch and 16-inch. So when we open it up, we'll have the computer inside, and it is wrapped just like every other MacBook Pro. And we've got a little pull tab here so that we can get it out of the box easily without dumping it over. I have seen that happen. And just feeling the computer, you can tell it has a different feel, that it is a new design just by how it feels in your hand. So there it is, the new 14-inch MacBook Pro. Feels really solid. It is definitely a little bit heavier than the 13-inch. Technically it's half a pound, but we'll get back to that in a minute. First of all, let's take a look at that welcome packet. That is pretty standard, just basic information on the computer and your Apple stickers. The USB-C charger is 67 watts on this model, so a little bit higher than the 13-inch, and it's nice to have a USB-C still intact. But this is really what we're excited about. If you're a longtime Mac user, you're going to appreciate this MagSafe charger. One thing I love about MagSafe 3 is the cable is detachable. So unlike the previous MagSafe models, MagSafe 1 and 2, the cable was attached to the charger. The MagSafe cable is a nice braided cable. Very excited to have MagSafe back on the Mac. And also you can still charge with USB-C. So don't forget you can do that as well. So the computer overall has a very solid feel to it. Elegant design, really professional design on the bottom. You have a laser engraved, laser etched logo. And then also the feet are much more pronounced than on previous models. And I would assume this has to do with better airflow so we can get the most power out of our machine. So that's something that's exciting to see. So let's open it up. If it's like other MacBook Pros, it should turn on. There it goes. It turns on as expected, and it should boot pretty fast. When you open it up, you're going to notice a few things. First of all, this keyboard is like the M1 MacBook Pro keyboard. It is not one of those butterfly keyboards, so it is a nice feel to that keyboard. And then you'll notice a couple of new things, that it has a full-size function key. So now the touch bar is gone, and I'm kind of disappointed. I did enjoy having the touch bar, but those full-size function keys is a first on a Mac laptop. So, and you also have your Touch ID button. It's a little bit larger. And so you can maybe see that in the picture. You can see it has a ring around it to kind of remind you of the ring of an iPhone home button. So yeah, it's really nice keyboard. So you can see that the keyboard is black, and that's going to be different than previous MacBook Pros where the metal around each individual key was the color of the aluminum, so either space gray or silver. On the right side of the computer, we have HDMI, which is an HDMI 2 port. So that will support 4K video at 60 Hertz. Then we also have Thunderbolt 4. So that supports Thunderbolt 4 and USB 4. It will also support charging. And then we also have the SD card slot. So on the right side, we have a couple of ports. Okay, so if we flip it over, on the left side, we have the MagSafe 3 port. We have two Thunderbolt 4 ports. So that will give us connectivity for Thunderbolt and USB, all the way up to USB 4. And with your right adapters, you can connect to older USB and Thunderbolt devices as well. So we got MagSafe, we have Thunderbolt 4, and then we do have our standard 3.5mm headphone jack on there as well. And so that's what we have on the left-hand side of our MacBook Pro 14-inch. Now these are the same ports that will be on the MacBook Pro 16-inch as well. This display is one of the huge upgrades for the new MacBook Pros. This is a liquid retina XDR display. So what that means, it uses mini LED technology. Your pixel density is much higher, so you have better picture quality. You also have a much brighter picture. So your standard brightness for HDR content is 1000 nits, which is double that of a standard MacBook Pro at 500 nits. So very bright display, very high density pixel count. So both the 14-inch and the 16-inch have higher pixels per inch than the 13-inch and the previous 16-inch model. So much nicer display, and you really are going to have to see it to appreciate it. But that's the outside of the machine. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to compare it to the 13-inch and the Intel 16-inch, as we don't have one of the new 16-inch models yet. All right, so let's compare the 14-inch MacBook Pro. We have the 13-inch MacBook Pro M1, the new 14-inch MacBook Pro, and then we have the previous generation, the Intel 16-inch MacBook Pro. So we can compare these three together and just kind of see the physical size differences between them. So 13-inch versus the 14-inch. The 14-inch is a hair thicker, but you can see the footprint is not much larger than that 13-inch MacBook Pro. And so that extra screen real estate you're gaining is not taking up a whole lot more space. And you can see that it's definitely thicker than the 13-inch MacBook Pro. You also have the tapered edge on the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and on the 14-inch it's definitely more squared off, more like an iPhone 12 or iPhone 13 design. So as for weight, you can't see it on the video, but you can tell that the 14-inch is a little bit thicker, and so it obviously is a little bit heavier. And it is noticeable, but it's not bad. The 16-inch, it's considerably larger. That footprint, when you're traveling and when you're carrying the computer, it's significant. And so even though it's a really thin computer for a workhorse machine, it's just wide in my opinion. So here you can see them stacked next to each other, that the 14-inch MacBook Pro is a little thicker than the Intel version of the 16-inch MacBook Pro. But just remember that the new MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro processor is a little bit thicker than the 14-inch version.
So this is the MacBook Pro 14-inch featuring the M1 Pro processor or the M1 Max processor. It will be available beginning Tuesday, October 26, 2021. We expect to have a limited supply on Tuesday, and we will have the 14-inch model on display starting Tuesday morning, so you can come check it out and see if it's the right MacBook Pro for you. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, like us, share us. Have a great day.